I'm just gonna ask you like a few questions. Not gonna take too long, like 15 minutes or so. So
Yes.
basically, uh, starting out when we met, and then what results you got, and then pretty much, what would you recommend people, that wanna actually work with me? What would you say to them, pretty much? So I have
Sure.
specific questions. So first one would be, state your name and where you live.
Dan Pescourse from St. Louis.
Excellent. So now let's go over the situation before we started working together. So where was your Amazon brand before we started working together?
Sure. So we have two accounts with seven different brands. And last year was all about growth for us. So not really worrying about the bottom line, but launching a lot of new products. We actually acquired some distressed brands from an aggregator that we were trying to turn around. And so it was all about top line revenue growth, which everybody knows is vanity, but it's also important to grow the top line of the business. And towards the end of the year, we wanted to start, making the shift towards focus on profitability. Our listings were maturing and our goals really had changed. Now we're still doing about a dozen, well, 8 new product launches this year and 4 kind of relaunches. But aside from that, our focus this year is really on profitability. We want to get our financials in a place that makes us very attractive from an acquisition standpoint. So that's when we considered, working with you.
Excellent. And what was profitability back then before we started?
Well, I mean, we've always been profitable, but we like to manage this at the ASIN level, which really rolls up to the account level. And so our focus really shifted from liquidating some inventory that was distressed. We had too much of it, and so those weren't necessarily profitable. We were just trying to get our cash back,
Mhm.
and break even, maybe like make a little bit of money. And some
Right.
products have always been profitable, and others had struggled. So really, our focus was from a tacos standpoint, where we look at the tacos at an ASIN level because some can afford to hire tacos and some
Right.
can't. And all of that rolls up to the business level, where we do have a target for tacos across the whole business. And that can vary by a point or two up or down, depending on whether or not we're trying to grow. So if we're trying to grow, obviously, we're happy to spend a little bit more in tacos, especially like if we're launching a new product at the account level. But if we're really trying to optimize and squeeze as much profit out of it as possible, we want those tacos as low as possible without missing out on opportunities to make sales. So, yeah, in general, I mean, we were in a healthy place, but not in a place that would allow us to market the business for sale. And that's really where we wanted to get to.
Excellent. So in thinking back, what were you unable to do that you wish you could have done?
Yeah. So, there's only so many hours in the day, and managing PPC is certainly a full-time job.
Mhm.
It's always changing. There's a high level of education and expertise that needs to be involved to do it really well. I was doing a okay job managing it myself. But when you're one organization and you don't have exposure to other organizations and other experiences, it makes it difficult to really iterate in a way that is based I guess, that those iterations are based in a place of, past experience.
Right.
So, that's the position that I was in. We were in an okay place. We know what we wanted to accomplish. And it made more sense for us to work with an expert who only focuses on this day in and day out. And when there's only so many hours in the day, you get to a certain size and you're like,
Mhm.
well, my time is better served looking for new products, working on click-through rates and conversion rates and getting these new products launched, and then making sure that the PPC at the ASIN level, across all of our geographies is
Yep.
managed the same way and consistently every week. And that's a big deal. The consistency is a huge piece of it too.
Excellent. Yeah, for sure. Systems for sure. We all need systems in our lives. So, what would you say were the negative impacts that not, I guess, hiring us before had on the business?
Um, I think from a negative perspective, it probably just would have been profitability. You know, we we were spending a lot on growth,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, we had some people managing the business from a PPC perspective early on who, you know, it's my fault for not keeping a close enough eye on it, but we're doing some things that are certainly not recommended
Yeah,
from a management perspective, like running broad managed campaigns with single word, you know, so
really.
lots of wasted spend, let's just say. So
Right.
you got a combination of wasted spend, and then I had taken it back over and cleaned up a lot of that. But really, you know, it probably just resulted in us in spending money that we didn't have to spend, and negatively affecting our profitability, which we could have been addressing earlier on.
Perfect. Excellent. So, um, how did you find me pretty much and or my company? Which one did you see first?
So I am in a lot of PPC and Amazon specific Facebook groups.
Mhm.
And and on LinkedIn follow a lot of you know, people who are in this space. And it's very rare that I see people post things that I consistently and wholeheartedly agree with from a management perspective. And so when I do see that, it sticks out to me as being very interesting. And so the reason that I think the only reason I was able to pick up on those things is because I went through all the education myself. I bought the $5,000 training courses. I got
Yeah.
access to the software. I did it all myself successfully for years, but I did it with a handful of products. And now all of a sudden we have 7 brands, 2 accounts, dozens of ASINs. You know, do I really have the time and the systems in place to execute on that effectively? And the short answer is no, I just don't have enough hours in the day. And when I, you know, in terms of being exposed to you guys, it was really through that, through watching your posts and your communications with other experts in the space and recognizing when someone actually knows what they're talking about, and the difference between that and, you know, someone who maybe has antiquated practices or is not staying up to date on changes that are happening. And you know, there's a lot of very specific minutia around the methodologies for managing things in certain ways when it comes to PPC, how you can focus on profitability, doing it at the ASIN level, not looking at vanity metrics, looking at profitability,
Mhm.
you know, and you know, how you handle your launch methodologies and all those sorts of things. There's lots of ways you can do it. Um, there's some better than others. And, you know, I think it was just a really good marriage of what I knew what to look out for, and, you know, someone with a strong track record of success in helping people to, you know, get where they needed to be and not overselling it, right?
Right.
That's important because if you have an account that's mature, that's been managed pretty well, there's not going to be 200% increase in PPC sales at a 5% tacos. Like that's not
True.
reality. So what you want to see is consistent incremental growth in profitability and top line sales. And honestly, that's what we've been able to achieve, you know, through the first half of this year, which is what I was hoping for. So
Yeah. Excellent. Appreciate it. Yeah, we did really well. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Um, cool. Very clear explanation. Yeah. Awesome. So, what were your thoughts on going through the process of I guess onboarding and all that, the experience we've been having together?
yeah, onboarding was easy. I mean, I've been through this process before with other vendors, and so you know the technical aspects of it are, once you've been through it, not that difficult to understand. But you know, I guess the comprehensive and proactive nature in which you address things from an account perspective, I think was really helpful. seeing the Trello board, if you want to look at it in terms of what's happening and what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. And if you want to add your own, line items there, I think is great from a transparency perspective. And weekly reporting is awesome. So it's extremely granular about what's happening at, ad group level. And, for me, I was very familiar with, onboarding in certain ways and having to kind of retool the account to get it into a place where that company was comfortable managing it. But what I appreciated was that you were able to take whatever was already existing, recognize what was working, and continue to let that play out, as well as killing what wasn't working and then starting to focus on new opportunities once all that was in a healthy place. So yeah, onboarding was good to go. Not a big deal.
Excellent. Thanks. Let's see. Now, the important question, really important question, is doubts and fears that you had going through the process. You already had something going, right? That was working kind of. So what was going through your mind in terms of like doubts and fears?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is whenever you're working with a third party to help you to manage something, especially with Amazon, which is a tight margin business, you're spending money. And so they may be able to improve your metrics, but is it offsetting the cost that you're spending for that management? And so that's always a fear in the back of your mind. The amount of money being spent going to be recouped in real bottom line dollars and cents
Right.
at the end of every month? Because you have to realize, like, if your profit doesn't improve by that dollar amount, you're not even offsetting your costs.
True.
So that I think is something that everyone should pay attention to, right? There's a lot of vendors who calculate their impact and forget to include what it is that it costs to utilize them as a business. And so
Sure.
that was a concern early on. And also, the concern of, do our methodologies match? Is there going to be consistency there in the way that it's managed?
Mm-hmm.
From a communication standpoint, is it going to be proactive? That's a big thing, not waiting for me to find something,
Right.
you bringing things to me in terms of what we can try. And of course it's collaborative, right? But at the
Sure.
same time, just having somebody who you can trust, and trust is a big thing, because I quite frankly haven't worked with many vendors who at the end of the day I can say, yeah, that was the right decision. And I can honestly say, based on this experience, that this has been the right decision for where we were with the business at the time. So
Awesome. Love it.
yeah, so I would say, those were the fears that I had, which I think probably will be a lot of people's fears. And you gotta buy the ticket and take the ride and try it out. And
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah.
way to
Yeah.
do it. So
Sure. Sure. So why did you say yes at the end of the day? What was the I guess the decision making process for you?
so my decision-making process was pretty straightforward. We obviously had a conversation about methodologies and how you manage things. I talked with some others who know you and the way that you manage your business, that we know mutually. And, obviously you came highly recommended. And, we set some pretty clear expectations of what we were trying to accomplish in the
Mhm.
first, 30, 60, 90 days. Um, and that was that. So, we were able to meet those expectations, and we're still working on them. But, looking at where we were at the beginning of the year to where we were to where we are now, it has been monthly improvement across the board.
Yes.
And, when you focus on profitability, your top line goes down, and that's scary for a lot of people. It's like year over year top line, we're down a little bit, but once we launch all these new products, that's going
Right.
to help. But our profitability is significantly better, and that's really what matters at the end of the
Yes.
day. So, I think you had a really good focus of um, keeping us thinking about that. And, ultimately, I just think that, like, there's a lot of different methodologies here, and there are very few people who execute correctly. And in my opinion, you guys do it the right way. So
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's going really well. It's so how does that ultimately makes you feel about the business where we stand right now?
Well, it makes me feel a lot better about the business, because when you're focused on growth and you're working with somebody else, and they say, well, you know, PPC is just more competitive. Amazon's just more competitive. You got to spend to grow the business. You got to spend to make sales. And it's like, those things are true to a degree. And sometimes they became a crutch, and it's not true in your account's case. And they're just spending your money because
Mm-hmm.
lazy, or they're not good at managing the business in a granular fashion. And so my concern, before, I didn't feel particularly great about the business. I was worried that maybe those things were true.
Mm.
Maybe my business and the products that I had couldn't do any better than a 15% tacos, or whatever that number was. Obviously, it's ASIN specific, but in general, the business couldn't handle
Mm-hmm.
anything. And at that rate, you know, I'm kind of old school, right? I think a business should focus on spending 10% of their gross revenue on advertising. And if it's over that, you know, Amazon's doing everything they can to make money. They don't, they don't, they make money whether you make money or not.
Yes, that's for sure.
So it is not in, they obfuscate data, right? Like, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here, but like, if you want
Sure.
to actively manage a successful Google PPC campaign, you don't need 3 additional pieces of software to give you the insight into
That's
whether or
true.
not it's
Yep,
profitable.
that is true.
But Amazon obfuscates that data,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're focused on making money in a way that is not always in the seller's best interest. So you hear these things, you're thinking to yourself, I'm not really feeling great. Maybe this is the new normal, is a 15+% tacos to even play the game. And the
hmm
reality is, it's not true. And our success over this last year has definitively shown that. So, you know, our profitability is way up, our tacos are way down across the board. Our business did not tank. It's in a very healthy place, and we're continuing to improve. We're continuing to hit, you know, weeks where we're doing better than we ever have.
yep,
So that has really alleviated a lot of the stress and concern that I had around, you know, it keeps you up at night, right? Like, why am I
for
even
sure.
doing this? Like, is this even worth it? Is this a
Yeah,
viable
yeah, yeah, yeah,
business?
yeah,
And the reality is, it is. You
yeah.
just got to have the right people working with you to make that a reality.
Sure. Yeah, it's a two-way street actually, right? It's not only the service providers, of course, your knowledge of the products in the market as well is huge, right? All the testing that you're doing with the conversion rate, all that stuff is brilliant for sure. It has a big impact on everything. So yeah, there's a lot of like yeah, it's a team sport for sure. It's
Oh
not
yeah,
one person solving everything. It's yeah, it's the owner has to do a lot of it as well.
sure.
PPC matters, but it's not the only thing that matters, right? A lot of like the SEO, everything matters.
Yeah,
It's
PPC amplifies
yes,
wherever you're at.
yes,
So if you're doing really well and you're optimized, it will amplify that.
yes,
If there's a
exactly.
gap, it will amplify that. And so, you know, always continuing to iterate on things, and using third parties to help with that is important, because you get so close to it
Mm-hmm.
that you can't, you know, you get all your images creative, and you use maybe like a PickFu, and you're like, man, they're the best, they're great. And you launch it. And then 2 years go by, and you're like, well, I want to change it. Maybe it could be better,
Mm-hmm.
but you're so close to it, it's like that creative spark isn't there, and you would end up in the same place. And so having a third party, having somebody that you can trust
Yep.
to iterate on that, and bring a level of expertise and just an outside vision to it, can move the needle on something that's been around for a while, whether that's creative or PPC.
Sure.
et cetera. But, it just, staying focused on all those different things really, really helps the PPC to be more effective. So like you said, it's a two-way street.
Two-way street, yeah, 100%. All right. So last question about this is, so what would you tell someone who is watching and who's unsure about taking the next step? What would you say to them?
Um, well, I think as an individual, as a business owner, you really have to have a good handle on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. You want to engineer for the end in mind. So you need to have a clear set of goals for what you want, hopefully rooted in realism, uh,
Mhm.
being somewhat conservative about those things. And, you know, make sure you understand the space, make sure you educate yourself. I mean, there's tons of great information. There's also a lot of bad information out there too,
Yeah.
but, definitely educating yourself before you get into a relationship can allow the conversations to be significantly more fruitful, to have good, constructive back and forth. So I guess what I would say, first off, know what you're wanting to try to accomplish, rooted in realism, and have some level of understanding of the space. And then at that point, you got to just pull the trigger and go for it. And quite frankly, it's worked out for us, and we were in a pretty healthy place to start. So there was no 100 or 200% first 30 days improvement. Some accounts do have that opportunity associated with them, with that are really mismanaged, but that wasn't us. And it has certainly worked out. So yeah. Also, ask for references. Hit me up. I'll talk to you about it. Yeah,
Awesome. I love
totally.
that.
It's totally fine. That's important because, past success is a predictor of future success. And so if you have somebody who's transparent about, their experiences, that really says a lot. So, yeah, personal opinion, go for it.
Excellent. Really well said. Thanks very much, Dan. Appreciate it. Yeah, I
Sure.
think that's it.
Okay.
That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's yeah, now I have to go in and then figure out how am I gonna use that content. But it's awesome. Yeah, very good stuff. But yeah. By the way, how is the split testing going with the pixel image?
It's going great. So I've got like a half a dozen main image recreations that are either finished or in process. And using that service with PickFu, the done for you, I mean, it's that extra set of eyes and that comprehensive expertise that I was talking about
Yeah.
from all different types of products and the stuff that they've come up with,
Yep.
I would not have come up with. And we've had some images that test really poorly against the competition, and then we've had some that have been pretty good. Like already we're in a pretty good place, and
Mm-hmm.
they're still able to iterate on them and improve them. So I've taken all those and I've thrown them into Amazon, and I'm doing split testing in Amazon right now. And so far,
Mm-hmm.
everything that they have done has performed better.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So have
Yeah,
you done the meal prep as well or no?
I just launched it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I
Yeah,
want to see that.
so
I
that's what I
love the
want.
cushion.
Yeah,
The cushion was awesome. I think they did a great job. Not the
yeah.
cushion, the whisk, the ice cube,
Yeah, the
the
ice cube
tray.
one
Yeah,
was
the
really
tray.
good. The meal prep one is really good. The booster seat and the aromatherapy are okay. I'm seeing that they're performing better, but not massively better. But they just did the hibachi grill and it is awesome.
Really,
So
that's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm getting ready to upload that one. Yeah, I'm basically going to do it for near every product.
Oh
So
wow. Yeah, that's cool. That's yeah, I think it's worth it for sure. It's $500 a piece, right? I think it's worth
correct.
it
Yeah, it's
for
500
sure.
bucks. They're pretty fast. They turn it around within a week and they will continue to iterate on it until
Oh
it's a liquid.
really?
So there's
Oh
no maximum number of
wow, that's awesome.
revisions. Yeah, and they'll continue to run pick foods until they get it. So we've had one where they've only had to run 2 tests, and we've had ones where they've ran 4 or 5 tests and the price doesn't change. So
That's really, really good stuff. Yeah, that's yeah, I gotta tell my other clients about this. They need to do this for sure.
yeah, I mean, it just makes it, like I said, and PPC amplifies things. So if you're getting a better conversion rate and more click-throughs,
Right.
and tacos is good, it's only going to improve things and
Yes.
generate more
Yes.
revenue. So
So
yeah.
what do you think is going to improve the most from this? Click-through rate for sure, but
Mhm.
how would that improve conversion rate? In what sense does it improve conversion rate?
Well, it could it well click through for sure, right? And
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
said,
Sure.
I think conversion. I don't think it makes as much of an impact, but it is the initial perception in the headspace that the consumer is in when they start to review the listing.
Mm-hmm.
So there may have been something that caught their eye there that lends itself to encouraging conversion because it was important to them. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like the gift bag in the main image. It's
Right.
like, well, if they're looking for a gift, um, they might already have seen that and they're like, no, this is a good gift. I'm going to convert.
Right. Yeah. This is
So I mean, the proof is going to be in the numbers, right? So Amazon, when you're doing your A/B tests,
uh-huh.
shows CTR and it shows conversion rate.
Right.
So I'll be able to see whether or not it has an effect on conversion
Right.
rate.
Yeah, that would be
Why it's
cool.
having, it's speculation, but
Right.
we'll know whether it does or if it doesn't. So,
My understanding of it is like the one they did for the ice cube tray, right? So that
mhm,
one has a specific keyword in there, right? So I
mhm.
would think for sure conversion would increase on that as well. Click through for sure, right?
I
It's
would think
already
so.
there, right? So people are looking at it. It's okay. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. So it should, in theory, increase both, right?
Yeah. I mean,
So
that's what I'm hoping for. So,
yeah, I think so. I mean, the thing that actually I asked you before was how did they pick the keyword, right? Why would they pick the if you look at the title, it's actually the main the root word that comes to the leftmost part of the title. So maybe that's why. But in does it have the highest search volume, for example? I don't know. Maybe.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of highest search volume and relevancy because
Right.
the highest search volume might be like bartender gifts or bartender
Right.
accessories, but that doesn't really make sense on the packaging,
Right.
and so it's like I think it's a balance between relevancy and volume.
Volume, yeah.
And so that one in particular, I think, well, that's why it's my first long tail keyword in the title, right? So I don't know why they
Yeah.
decided to pick that one versus another one. We didn't have
Right.
a conversation about that, but they have access to all my creative and my master keyword lists. So if they're
Okay.
looking at it, they do have access to that data. I provide them with everything because I'm like, the
Okay.
more information
Yeah.
you have about the product, hopefully the more effective that you'll be in creating an image that's impactful. So
Sure. No, 100% agree. All right.
yeah.
Cool. All right, then. Appreciate you. And then, of course, if anything else comes up, let me know. And the launch is coming up soon, right? Like a week from now?
No, I mean, we got to wait until the products get here. They're all in the water. So we do
Ah, okay.
have, yeah, we do have
Okay.
8 new products, four that are going to be, no, I would say 10 are going to be 10 new products and two are going to be kind of relaunches. And so we'll talk about that, but
Yeah.
everything is in process of being manufactured or is already on the water. So I've got probably half of the creative finished, but I'll have it all done, all the listings ready to go, get everything, all the launch campaigns built out in Data Dive, and I'll push those when we go live, and then we'll just watch and see. So
Yeah, man. Exciting times, I'm sure. Yeah,
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
it's
Cool.
gonna be good.
Excellent. All
So
right, my man.
all
Appreciate
right,
you. And have a good weekend. All right.
you too. Thanks, Bernard. Have a
Thanks a
good
lot,
weekend.
Dan. Thanks a lot.
Bye.